the president is an alumni of Augustinium. And it echoes what Radilio was saying about education being an equalizer. In those years, Augustinium was almost a school of excellence. Not just anybody made it into Augustinium. So my husband, his father was a farm worker. And his mom, if she was lucky, she would get odd domestic work jobs at the farm where the father worked. And if you think of it, relative to your own life path, imagine the child of a farm worker and a domestic worker who went to school here at Augustinium, which could resemble some of your own paths, becoming the president of a country. And where the paths will be similar to yours is an absolute focus on education. Because education is what makes a difference. It's not all. There's many other steps that you have to take, like making responsible life decisions. Had he become an alcoholic along the way? Had he succumbed to substance abuse, violence, not getting help if he struggles with depression, whatever? I'm not saying he had depression. But if he didn't make responsible life decisions, he wouldn't be where he is. So the two things that help is education, but also the decisions that you make. And that's partly why we're here, because we realized if we're talking about prevention of infertility and the inability to conceive, surely we should start it earlier. Because there are decisions, believe it or not, as young people that you make now that will impact your future fertility. Now, when often people like us come and speak to you, we only speak to you in the context of teenage pregnancy. And I'm happy that Mr. Ngifikwa from the Ministry of Education has confirmed that in your CSE education, as part of your life skills curriculum, the issue of infertility is touched on. Not in depth, but it is touched on because it does indicate that infertility can be a consequence of untreated infections or previous infections that you had. So we are really being forced to understand that the family planning discussion has to be holistic. When we speak to teenagers, we can't just speak to you about teenage pregnancy and making sure you have children if and when you want them, and planned pregnancy. We must also teach you that one day when you are in a position or want to have a child, it's not an automatic, I want to have a child this year, therefore I'm going to have a child. It doesn't happen like that. And certain things you do as boys and girls can impact that ability one day when you're in a situation where you want to have kids. What are those things? And it's many things that we need to be careful of. Substance abuse being one. So many of you are at the age where you're starting to become curious about alcohol, drugs, particularly marijuana. These things do have an impact on sperm production in males. It does have an impact on fertility in general. Boys, I see many of you like these tight, skinny jeans, where your things are a little bit squeezed. It has an impact on fertility. So fashion is important, but we must be pragmatic about its implications. So loose hanging things are good, not these ones that drop here by your buttocks, but generally allow your things to breathe a little bit. Unfortunately, some of the consequences of sexual violence, rape on young girls, does result in infertility. Early sexual debuts, it does result. So it is a topic, so many people, when they are unable to conceive, it could be a number of things. So we don't know what causes many people's infertility, but it does happen to 1 in 4 couples. And why this is important is one day if you do decide to get married and you aren't able to have a child, it does unfortunately impact the dynamics of relationships. So we don't just want to speak to you about prevention. We don't want to just speak to you about the different routes that have to be taken if it is a challenge in your life. And we also want to speak to you about what if it does not only happen to you one day as an adult, what if it's happening within your family? Because this is an opportunity for you to lead. So the same way sweets manufacturers toys, video game manufacturers target marketing at young people. Why do they do that? It's because the young person will then say, Mommy, I want you to buy this toy for me that I saw on television yesterday. So adults target young people with messaging because they know young people have an influence on their parents. So we are also talking to you about these issues because we also know that there are parents who are not dealing with the issues of infertility in a sensitive manner. You'll notice in the book there's Hafeni and Operi. And when Hafeni and Operi realized that their friend Paulus had a problem of infertility or not being able to have children, their first advice was, divorce that useless woman, get a new one. So who wants to be Hafeni or Operi here? And apologies to any Hafeni or Operi who's actually in the room. So nobody wants to be like Hafeni and Operi giving bad advice. But as kids, we are also privy to our parents' conversations, and then we hear about our aunt who can't have children. And one day, we say and do cruel things around that topic. And it's being cruel, it's like bullying. So when people say hurtful things, which don't make sense. So the very basis of what we're discussing is, if you can't have children, you remain a human being, you remain a woman, you remain a man. To say our role is just to be a father or just to be a mother is not true, because that's actually not the reason we were put on this world. So it's called a logical fallacy. To say you're not woman enough or you're not man enough because you didn't have a child. Let me use an example. Yesterday we were at Safari Hotel, and the night before, on Tuesday night, my fingers were starting to swell, so I removed my ring. So let me quickly, so here, Mrs. Geingos, I'm a married woman. No divorce. So let me quickly remove my rings. I want to explain to you what a logical fallacy is. Let me quickly remove my rings for you. So here, my rings are in my hand, I put them down. Am I now divorcing? Because I don't have a ring? So go on Facebook, and you'll notice yesterday I was on news, and people notice I don't have my ring. So you Facebook geniuses, what is the first thing they said? Trouble in paradise, they divorcing. That's now how logical fallacies work. If I have my ring, it means I have a happy marriage. I take it off or I forget it in the bathroom, I'm divorcing. Now this is the illogical nature of society. We say things that don't make sense, but because we have the platforms to say it, we say it. So that's the same behavior that makes us say, those ones haven't had a child in 5 years, therefore, that one's not man enough, he's not performing in that department, she's not a woman enough, she must be divorced. It's the same thread of illogical behavior. So let me get married again by putting on my ring. Because now if I'm on news again without a ring, it's another story tomorrow. So guys, here. So I just wanted to illustrate to you in a basic way how 1 + 1 becomes 11. So logical fallacies, let's be careful, and there's huge logical fallacies. There's huge myths in relation to not being able to have children. Some of those myths include you had too many sexual partners. You have been bewitched by your mother-in-law or sister-in-law. We have horrible names like Vind, you know what they say, Cement Baarmoeder. We've got lots of names that we use. And we live in a society, unfortunately, that is hypocritical towards girls. If you don't want a baby, we judge you. If you go for family planning, we judge you, because that's another myth, that too much family planning brings infertility. So you don't want one, we judge. You want one but can't have one, we judge. You want one but not now, so you use family planning, we judge. So what should we not do? Judge. We must adopt this topic in a non-judgmental manner. And I do, life skills teachers are my best friends in all schools, so I'm not scared that it was the life skills teacher who advised you to come to my office. We do great work with life skills teachers in many schools, especially in relation to Be Free. So what I would like to offer the life skills teachers of Augustinium is to provide more material. So when you do go through the CEC as part of your life skills curriculum, there is more information around the issues of infertility and making it relevant to young people. Because we must align our experiences with evidence, not these 1 + 1 = 11 stories that we like to push and conspiracy theories. Are we clear? Okay. And I want to say to the kids of Sunshine School, that performance outside was fantastic. And I love the way you guys really enjoyed it. So thank you for that performance. It was really great. And what I also want to thank is the school for hosting us and for the story you told, because people tend to think of government as unresponsive. And when I look at the immense challenges faced by the Ministry of Education, Mr. Nkifikwa and Acting Minister of Education, a lot has actually been done. And I think we got testimony today of there is responsiveness from the Ministry of Education. So to the former minister and to the acting minister and to the people in the directorates who really keep that ministry going, please extend our gratitude to everybody else in the ministry for a fantastic job that you guys are doing under difficult circumstances. And then I'd also like to thank Dr. Rasha for coming, not only to Namibia. In this time of coronavirus, nobody wants to travel, but she's here. We thank you for your commitment to this topic. I know how passionate you are about young people as well, and for the hard work you do and for making this publication and this little booklet possible. You'll notice we have Helena Mutseng with us as well. And I want to thank you for coming. She shared some unbelievable stories, so I really do recommend that you go on to, if you have access to social media, go onto the social media websites. There's some fantastic videos and sharing of stories. And like many of us in this room, myself included, not all of us are raised by our biological parents. No. How many of you have been raised by people who are not your biological parents? You can put up your hand. So I'm going to put up my hand a little bit because it wasn't for long, it was about, but I was also there. So many, okay, I see more and more hands are coming up, and there's nothing wrong with it. Because parenting and being a biological parent are not mutually incompatible. We know people who've had kids who are not great parents. And we know people who haven't had children who are fantastic parents. And we also know people who raise their biological kids in ways that are unfair. So there isn't one line to this. Life is complicated. Life has nuance. But the message I'm saying to you is that you don't have to be the way and do the things you saw and things that were done to you. You are the generation that must change things. You are the generation that are going to look after kids that aren't yours, and you are going to do it constructively and fairly. You are the generation who are not going to be judgmental and vindicate and accuse and make other people feel bad for things that are not within your control. So if you are going to be the generation that changes things, you are the generation that has to change yourselves first, because you become a product of your societies. So thank you very much for your attention. I hope we come back to Augustino, and I hope one day when you write a letter to the president, he comes back and he says, yes, please do come. And then a message to the teachers. On the 21st of March, one of the people who will be sitting in the VVIP section where the president stands is going to be Mitiri Martin Shipanga Sr. He's turning 90 next year. And the reason he's there is because he was my husband's teacher when he was in Augustinian. And they remain very close. So often when he's around my husband, he'll always look at him and says, "Aye man, my boy." He still calls my husband my boy because he really did shape him. So you can see the powerful impact teachers have on learners. And whatever is powerful here, there's also an antithesis. So you can be powerful and shape, and a learner doesn't forget you even when they become president. Or you can become destructive and damage, and a learner also doesn't forget you because of the harm you caused. So there's actually a decision to be made. Am I the teacher who's going to end up one day in a VVIP box because I've nurtured and shaped a student into something incredible? Or am I the teacher who's going to be the reason why one of my students needs mental health and suffers from a belief that they're going to become nothing in life because that's all they heard from me? And I know that there's many teachers in this country who are exactly like me, H.E Martin Shipanga, but I also know that there's a few who aren't. And it's a choice we make, because children aren't easy. But at the end of the day, we must shape. And as I said to you guys as well, if you're confronted with an irresponsible adult, whether it's a parent, whether it's a neighbor, you also have the power to shape. So thank you very much for your attention and for having us.